There is a certain kind of person who walks into a conversation already knowing things they were never told. They sense what someone is really asking beneath the question they actually voiced. They feel the shift in a relationship before anyone has named it. They know when an apology isn't genuine, when enthusiasm is performed, when someone is about to make a decision they'll regret, even when that person is entirely convinced they're fine. I don't mind reading. It isn't magic. It is a specific, documentable form of human intelligence that psychology has only recently begun to take seriously. And if you are one of these people, you already know that it is as much a burden as it is a gift. Understanding people at this level is not something you chose. It is something that developed in you, quietly, over years, shaped by a combination of temperament, experience, and the particular kind of attention you were forced to pay to the world around you. The research is clear that this capacity, what psychologists sometimes call interpersonal acuity, sits at the intersection of emotional intelligence, pattern recognition, and a form of deep listening that most people never develop because they never needed to. But you did. And the signs of it are more specific than most people realize. The first sign is that you hear what people mean, not just what they say. Language, for most people, is taken at face value, but you process it on multiple levels simultaneously. You register the word choice, the timing, the hesitation, the thing that was almost said and then wasn't. When someone tells you they're fine, something in you catalogs the 17 reasons that might not be true. Linguists and cognitive psychologists studying communication have found that genuine interpersonal understanding requires this kind of multi-layered processing, and that most people operate on only one or two levels at a time. You operate on all of them, automatically, without deciding to. The second sign is that you can identify someone's core wound fairly quickly, often before they can. You don't always know what to call it. But within a few conversations, sometimes within a single one, you start to see the shape of what drives a person, the fear beneath the ambition, the longing beneath self-sufficiency, the old rejection buried inside the need for control. Psychoanalytic theory describes these as organizing schemas, the deep emotional templates that structure how a person relates to themselves and the world. Most people spend years in therapy before they begin to see their own. You often see other people before the conversation is over. The third sign is that people's behavior makes sense to you even when they can't explain it themselves. When someone acts in a way that contradicts what they claim to want, when they self-sabotage, when they push away the very thing they've been reaching for, you don't find it confusing. You find it coherent, because you can see the internal logic. You understand that people are not always driven by their conscious intentions, that fear and history and unprocessed emotion run the show more often than anyone admits. This understanding makes you unusually patient with human contradiction in a way that genuinely puzzles the people around you. The fourth sign is that you know when someone is lying, not always about what, but that something is off. This isn't supernatural. It is the result of your brain having built an extraordinarily detailed baseline for human behavior. When something deviates from that baseline, even subtly, even in a way the other person has carefully concealed, you register it. Researchers studying deception detection have found that most people perform only marginally better than chance when trying to identify dishonesty. But a small subset of individuals, those with high interpersonal acuity and strong pattern recognition, perform significantly better. You are likely in that subset. You've known it for years. The fifth sign is that you can feel the emotional temperature of a relationship shift before anyone has said a word about it. Something changes in how a person texts you back. Something is different in the quality of their attention. Something has moved in the architecture of the dynamic, and you feel it, precisely, days or weeks before it becomes visible to anyone else. This is not anxiety. This is not paranoia. It is your nervous system doing something genuinely sophisticated, tracking relational data across time and flagging meaningful deviations. The problem is that knowing something is changing and being able to do anything about it are two very different things. If you're watching this and feeling that quiet recognition, that sense of finally hearing something articulated that you've lived with but never had the language for, then this channel is exactly where you should be. We take psychology seriously here, not as a self-help framework, but as a genuine lens for understanding human experience at depth. Subscribe if you haven't already, because what comes next in this list moves into territory that even people with high interpersonal intelligence rarely examine about themselves. The sixth sign is that you are often more aware of what someone needs than they are, and you feel the tension of knowing you cannot always give it to them. You see that what your friend is asking for and what would actually help them are two different things. You understand that what someone says they want from a relationship and what would genuinely fulfill them are not the same. This places you in a particular kind of loneliness because you are holding knowledge that isn't yours to act on. You cannot force someone toward their own insight. You can only be present while they find it or not. Learning to sit with that, to hold what you see without trying to fix or force, is one of the quieter forms of emotional maturity. The seventh sign is that people tell you things they haven't told anyone else, often very quickly, often surprising themselves in the process. There is something in how you listen that creates a specific kind of safety. Not the safety of agreement or validation, but the safety of being genuinely received. Of feeling that the person across from you is actually tracking what you're saying, is not waiting for their turn to speak, is not quietly judging. People can sense this quality without being able to name it, and they move toward it instinctively, the way anyone moves toward the thing they've been starving for. The eighth sign is that you understand people's behavior in context in a way that most people struggle to. Where others make quick character judgments, you hold the fuller picture. You factor in what someone has been through, what pressures they're under, what version of events they're operating from. This isn't excusing bad behavior. It's something more precise than that. It's the ability to hold moral clarity and psychological compassion simultaneously, to see someone clearly without reducing them to their worst moment. Researchers studying wisdom and social cognition describe this capacity as one of the most advanced forms of human social reasoning. It's also one of the rarest. The ninth sign is that you often know how a situation is going to unfold before it does. Not in a mystical sense, but because you've been tracking the relevant variables long enough to see where the trajectory is heading. You watch a relationship dynamic and you can feel the collision coming. You observe a group decision being made, and you can already see the flaw that will surface in 3 months. This pattern recognition across time, what psychologists call longitudinal social inference, is a function of both memory and attention. You've been paying close enough attention, for long enough, to see further down the road than most people think to look. And the 10th sign, the one that makes all the others both possible and costly, is that you feel other people's emotional states in your own body, not metaphorically, literally. When someone near you is anxious, something tightens in your chest. When someone is grieving, you carry a weight that doesn't belong to your own life. When someone is performing happiness they don't feel, you feel the gap between the performance and the reality as a kind of dissonance in your own system. Neuroscientists studying mirror neuron activity and somatic empathy have documented this phenomenon in individuals with high interpersonal sensitivity. Your nervous system doesn't stop at your own skin. It extends into the people around you. And that is both the source of everything on this list and the thing that makes it the most exhausting to carry. Here is what psychology wants us to understand about people like you. This level of interpersonal intelligence is not a personality trait. It is a cognitive and neurological architecture that developed for specific reasons and operates according to its own demands. It gives you access to a quality of human connection and understanding that most people will never experience, and it asks something significant in return. It asks that you learn how to hold what you know without being consumed by it, that you develop the same quality of understanding for yourself that comes so naturally when you turn it toward others. Because the most important person in your life, who deserves to be truly understood, is you. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.